How surprised were you when you saw that Kawhi Leonard signed an extension? 3 years, $153 million, fully guaranteed. Now, obviously, this extension comes with the natural concerns that come with employing Kawhi Leonard, which is that you wonder how many games he's going to play, how durable he's going to be over the length of the contract, and what kind of situation that's going to put the Clippers in. Because as we all know, as we've talked about ad nauseum over the last few years, if Kawhi Leonard is healthy, he's one of the best players in the NBA, top 10, superstar, capable of being the best player on a championship team, capable of carrying the Clippers to an NBA championship. But obviously over these last few years, that hasn't been the case. And so considering the injury history he has, and considering the fact that he's now 32 years old, that definitely raises some concern about this extension from the Clippers' perspective. But at the same time, if we look at this deal from the Clippers' perspective, we realize that they didn't really have any other choice. As many concerns as Kawhi Leonard has that are all completely valid, what is the alternative? You let him walk, and let's say you let Paul George walk as well, and even, independent of what they gave up for James Harden and how they really tied themselves now to a win now track. You let those guys go, and now you're in stage one of a rebuild, and now what? Like they don't have their draft picks because they gave all those up to get Kawhi and PG. So what do? You're kind of like where the Brooklyn Nets are now, where you're trying to win, but you don't have the pieces to win, but then you can't really bottom out because you don't have your own draft pick. It's limbo. You're stuck in mediocrity if you don't do this deal. For better or worse, the Clippers have tied themselves to Kawhi and PG, and as long as those guys want to be there, if you're the Clippers, you'd be dumb not to keep them around as long as possible. Even if you think there's diminished hope that they could bring you a championship, that hope is still better than the alternative of trying to rebuild the roster into a legitimate championship contender from the ground up. And also, not for nothing, if you're the Clippers, it's a massive win considering that they're opening a new arena, a new stadium next year, and to have a headliner like Kawhi Leonard there to, christen it, as it were, is going to be big for them. It's going to start off this new era, right? Because there were definitely thoughts of what if Kawhi and PG leave, and now they have this just random assortment of players. That's not the way you want to open a new arena. Nobody's going to want to go to that. You need a headliner. You need someone who's going to fill the seats, who's going to draw fans to that new stadium. And so now the Clippers finally have that, and so for whatever that's worth, that's nice. And also, I think the thing that's encouraging for the Clippers is that, look, Kawhi is never not going to be a health concern, a durability concern. But you definitely have to feel more encouraged about, his future durability, considering how well he's played this year and how durable he's been this year. 24 points, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists on insane shooting both inside and outside the arc. But more impressively, he's only missed 4 games. Now, obviously, a lot can change between now and the start of the playoffs and also during the playoffs. But as far as the data that we have to draw a conclusion, at least at this point, the results are encouraging. I'm really happy for the Clippers because I will never clown them for making that original trade for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, because if you have a chance to get a superstar and a guy who was coming off a top 3 MVP and Defensive Player of the Year finish, which Paul George was in the summer of 2019, you do it every time. And there's been a lot of highs, there's also been a lot of lows, and it certainly hasn't helped that SGA has turned into a superstar. But I've always respected the Clippers in the sense that the goal is to win a championship. And again, whatever concerns you have about Kawhi's health, having him puts you infinitely closer to winning a championship than not having him, than going the alternative route of trying to build something from scratch. So whatever concerns you have about his health, they are completely valid, but I don't think they're valid enough for the Clippers to still not commit to him, which is ultimately why they did. And if it doesn't work, then so be it. And if his body breaks down and he doesn't really, last the length of his contract, more injury issues pop up, that's going to suck. But that doesn't mean this extension won't have been the right decision for the Clippers, because it's not like they could have chose between Kawhi Leonard and insert more healthy superstar. Kawhi's from California. He wanted to stay. I was never really convinced that he would want to leave California. I think that's why he wanted to come in the first place. I think that's why he was willing to leave the defending champions to come back home to California to, I think he's from San Diego, and I think that's where he lives, but he's close to home. So you have the desire for the guy to say that guy is a superstar. When that guy is healthy, he can be the best player on a championship team. That's a gamble we're taking. I don't care what the money is. I don't care what the year is, fully guaranteed, whatever. At the end of the day, what else are you playing for if not a championship? And Kawhi, for all his faults, for all the durability concerns, that dude puts you much closer to a championship. And the Clippers are going to ride it till the wheels fall off, for better or worse. And I don't know how anyone can blame him for that.